Manager Brad Williams just made the worst mistake of his life. At Fresh Slice's flagship location, the lunch rush creates perfect cover. Brad slides something into an order, his smile widening with satisfaction. "Special recipe just for you," he mutters, wrapping the contaminated order. Another lesson about to be taught. The target waits patiently. A homeless man in threadbare clothes, posture hunched, beard unkempt. Other customers instinctively avoid him, creating space he never requested. Brad's confidence grows. Perfect victim. No witnesses who matter. He wraps the order carefully, extending it toward his target with mock politeness. The homeless man accepts it without flinching. When he looks up, something flashes in his eyes, something that doesn't match the torn clothes or unkempt appearance. Brad doesn't know who he's just poisoned, and that mistake will cost him everything. 3 hours earlier, Andre Davis sat in his corner office 40 floors above downtown, watching the viral TikTok video for the 15th time. "Day 3 of recording my racist manager," the teenage voice whispered over shaky phone footage. The camera captured Fresh Slice's flagship store through a gap in kitchen equipment. "Watch how he treats customers based on how they look." Andre's jaw tightened as the video played. A well-dressed businessman received immediate service, extra condiments, and genuine smiles. An elderly Hispanic woman waited 20 minutes for the same order, received attitude and deliberately skimpy portions. A young black student was told they were out of ingredients moments after serving identical items to others. The video had 2.3 million views. Comments flooded in. "This is disgusting. I'm never eating there again. Someone needs to stop this." Andre paused the video on the manager's face. Brad Williams, hired 8 months ago with stellar references. Performance reviews praised his efficiency and profit margins. Now Andre understood why. Brad was systematically cutting service costs by driving away customers he deemed unworthy. His assistant knocked. "Mr. Davis, the board meeting? Cancel it." Andre stood, mind already working. "And cancel everything else today." "Sir, I need to see something for myself." Andre had built Fresh Slice from a single food truck 12 years ago. Started with $800 borrowed from his grandmother and a promise that everyone deserved fresh, quality food regardless of their background. Now he controlled 847 locations across 38 states, employing over 12,000 people. But success had created distance. Corner offices, board meetings, reports instead of reality. The TikTok changed that. An hour later, Andre stood in his downtown loft's bathroom studying his reflection. The expensive haircut was gone, replaced by 3 days of stubble darkened with temporary dye. Designer clothes lay discarded. Instead, torn jeans from a thrift store, a stained jacket, scuffed sneakers over his usual Italian leather shoes. He practiced the shuffle, shoulders hunched, eyes downcast, the careful movement of someone who'd learned to make themselves invisible. His father had moved like this after losing his construction job, before they lost the house. Andre remembered that shame, that desperate hunger to belong somewhere, anywhere. His phone buzzed. A text from Aisha, the teenager who'd posted the video. "He's getting worse. Someone needs to stop him." Andre typed back from a burner phone. "Help is coming." Across town, Aisha Johnson deleted the message and slipped her phone back into her apron pocket. Lunch rush approached and she needed to stay focused. 3 months working at Fresh Slice. 3 months watching Brad Williams poison the workplace with his casual cruelty. She'd tried reporting it. District management said they'd look into it. Nothing changed. Brad's numbers stayed strong. High profit margins, low labor costs. The how didn't matter to the corporation. Until Aisha started recording. "Johnson!" Brad's voice cut across the prep area. "Bathroom break's over. We got customers." Aisha returned to her station, hands automatically reaching for sandwich ingredients. Around her, the lunch rush built momentum. Office workers, construction crews, college students, all hungry, all trusting Fresh Slice to treat them fairly. They had no idea what happened behind the scenes. Brad moved through the kitchen like a general inspecting troops, pointing out microscopic flaws, demanding impossible speed. His authority was absolute. 15 employees depended on these jobs, and Brad never let them forget it. "Remember," he announced to no one in particular, We serve quality customers with quality service. Everyone else gets exactly what they deserve. Aisha's phone recorded from her pocket, audio capturing every word. Another piece of evidence for the growing file she'd compiled. Dozens of incidents, hundreds of small cruelties, a systematic pattern of discrimination disguised as business efficiency. The lunch crowd thickened. Brad's mood improved as he surveyed the profitable chaos. Rushed orders, minimal portions for undesirable customers, maximum revenue extraction. At 12:47 p.m., the door chime announced another customer. Brad looked up from his register to see a homeless man shuffling through the entrance, clothes torn and dirty, posture defeated. Other customers instinctively moved away, creating space around him like he carried disease. Perfect. Brad's smile turned predatory. Time for another lesson about knowing your place. Time to show this vagrant that Fresh Slice catered to better people than him. He moved toward the prep station, already planning his special welcome. Neither Brad nor Aisha recognized the homeless man approaching the counter. But Andre Davis recognized everything he needed to see. "Next!" Brad's voice carried false cheer as the homeless man approached the counter. Andre shuffled forward, eyes downcast, playing his role perfectly. Around him, lunch customers continued their conversations, but he felt their sideways glances, their instinctive recoil. "What do you want?" Brad's tone shifted, politeness evaporating. "A sandwich, please." Andre's voice came out raspy, uncertain. "Turkey and—" "We don't do custom orders for walk-ins." Brad's interruption was sharp. "You get what's ready." Behind the counter, Aisha's hand moved to her phone. Something in Brad's posture told her this would be bad. She positioned herself to capture audio, her heart racing. A businesswoman in line behind Andre checked her watch impatiently. "Excuse me, I'm in a hurry." "Of course, ma'am." Brad's smile returned instantly. "Right this way. We'll take care of you first." Andre remained motionless as Brad served the woman immediately. Fresh ingredients, extra meat, genuine courtesy. The contrast was deliberate, calculated. "Turkey Club, extra avocado, no charge for the upgrade," Brad announced cheerfully. "Have a wonderful day." The woman hurried off. Andre stepped forward again. "Are you still here?" Brad's fake surprise drew nervous chuckles from other customers. "All right, let's see what we got for you." Brad moved to the prep station, making a show of examining day-old ingredients. Wilted lettuce, dry bread, meat that sat too long under heat lamps. "This should work," he muttered loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Still good enough?" Aisha zoomed her camera closer, capturing Brad's deliberate selection of the worst ingredients. Her phone shook slightly as she watched him layer expired turkey onto stale bread. But that wasn't the worst part. As Brad assembled the sandwich, he glanced around to ensure customer attention had shifted elsewhere. Then his hand moved to a container beneath the counter, pest control samples from the morning's inspection. A live cockroach, sluggish from cold storage. Aisha's breath caught as she watched Brad palm the insect, his movements practiced, confident. This wasn't his first time. "Special sauce," Brad whispered to himself, dropping the cockroach onto the lettuce. It disappeared beneath the top slice of bread. The sandwich looked normal from outside. Fresh Slice's signature wrap, corporate logo prominently displayed. No hint of the contamination within. "That'll be $12.50, Brad announced, sliding the wrapped sandwich across the counter. Andre reached for his wallet, a worn, nearly empty thing that matched his appearance. He counted out crumpled bills slowly, his hands trembling slightly. 12, 13. Sorry, that's all I have. Andre's voice carried genuine distress. Could I maybe... 13 works. Brad's generosity was performative, loud enough for other customers to hear. See? We take care of everyone here. Several customers nodded approvingly. Brad's public image remained intact. Helpful manager accommodating a less fortunate customer. Andre accepted the sandwich with both hands, the way hungry people hold food. Thank you. Really, this means, yeah, enjoy. Brad turned away dismissively, already focusing on the next profitable customer. Andre moved toward an empty corner table, his shuffling gait convincing. He sat heavily, unwrapped the sandwich carefully as if it were precious. Aisha watched from her station, phone still recording. She wanted to scream, to warn him, but interference would blow her cover and cost her job. Instead, she captured everything, building the evidence that might finally stop Brad's systematic cruelty. Around the restaurant, normal lunch conversations continued. Customers ate their proper sandwiches, unaware that someone among them had been deliberately poisoned for the crime of appearing poor. Brad supervised his domain with satisfaction. Another lesson delivered. Another undesirable reminded of their place in his hierarchy. He'd done this before, contaminated food for customers who didn't meet his standards, homeless people, teenagers with attitude, anyone who looked like they couldn't fight back or afford lawyers. The system was perfect. Victims rarely returned to complain. When they did, Brad's reputation for efficiency and customer service protected him, their word against his. He always won. Andre lifted the sandwich toward his mouth, the wrapped edges hiding its lethal contents. This was the moment Brad lived for, watching someone bite into his special recipe, seeing the realization dawn, the helpless disgust. But something was wrong with this homeless man's reaction. Instead of biting immediately, Andre paused, studied the sandwich with unusual intensity. His posture straightened almost imperceptibly. When he looked up, his eyes locked directly onto Brad's, and for the first time, Brad felt a flicker of uncertainty. Andre set the sandwich down without taking a bite. The movement was deliberate, controlled, nothing like the desperate hunger Brad expected. Instead, Andre reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out his phone, the screen casting light across his weathered features. Brad's confidence wavered. Something about this customer felt different now. Wrong. Andre stood slowly, his hunched posture gradually straightening to full height. The transformation was subtle but unmistakable, shoulders broadening, spine aligning, the careful shuffle replaced by purposeful steps. "Excuse me," Andre called out, his voice suddenly clear and authoritative. "Could everyone please stay where you are for a moment?" Conversation stopped. Customers looked up from their meals, confusion rippling through the restaurant. Brad's face went pale. "I need to address something important," Andre continued, his tone carrying the unmistakable weight of command. "My name is Andre Davis. I'm the CEO and founder of Fresh Slice." The silence was deafening. Aisha's phone nearly slipped from her trembling hands. Around the restaurant, customers began pulling out their own phones, sensing they were witnessing something extraordinary. Brad's mouth opened and closed soundlessly. His eyes darted toward the exit, calculating escape routes. "This sandwich," Andre held up the wrapped package, "was deliberately contaminated by your manager. I watched him place a live cockroach inside it, specifically because he judged me unworthy of proper service based on my appearance." Gasps echoed through the dining area. Customers pushed back from their tables, some covering their mouths in disgust. Andre carefully unwrapped the sandwich, peeling back layers to reveal the evidence. The cockroach, sluggish but alive, crawled across the lettuce. "This is what discrimination looks like when people think nobody's watching." Several customers began recording. The moment was being captured from multiple angles, destined for social media within minutes. Brad finally found his voice. You can't prove I did that deliberately. It could have been an accident, contamination from I have everything on video." Aisha stepped forward, her phone extended. "Audio, too. This is the 4th time this week I've recorded him contaminating food for customers he doesn't like." Brad's face crumpled. His authority, his control, his carefully constructed system, all of it collapsing in real time. "Aisha Johnson," Andre said, recognizing her immediately. "You're the one who posted the TikTok video that brought me here." "Yes, sir." Aisha's voice was steady despite her racing heart. "Someone had to do something." Andre nodded respectfully. "Your courage made this possible. Without your willingness to speak up, this would have continued indefinitely." He turned back to Brad, who stood frozen behind the counter like a deer in headlights. "You're fired, effective immediately. Security will escort you out, and you'll never work for this company again. I'm also recommending criminal charges for food tampering and assault." "You can't do this!" Brad's voice cracked. "I made this location profitable. Your numbers came from systematic discrimination and potential assault charges." Andre's voice cut through the protest. "Profit built on cruelty isn't profit, it's theft." Andre looked around the restaurant at the stunned faces watching him. To everyone here, I apologize. This doesn't represent what Fresh Slice stands for. We're going to make this right. He pulled out his phone and dialed security. I need a team at the downtown location immediately. Also, send someone from legal and HR. We have a situation that requires immediate attention. As Andre waited for backup, he noticed the other employees behind the counter, young faces filled with relief and amazement. They'd been trapped in Brad's toxic system, afraid to speak up for fear of losing their jobs. That was about to change. Aisha, Andre said, would you mind staying after we close today? I'd like to discuss your future with this company. Yes, sir. Aisha smiled for the first time in months. The real work was just beginning. 2 hours earlier, Andre approached Fresh Slice's flagship location at 11:30 a.m., his disguise complete. The lunch rush hadn't started yet, perfect timing to observe normal operations before the pressure mounted. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, he watched Brad Williams directing his staff with military precision. 15 employees moved efficiently through their stations, but Andre noticed the tension immediately, shoulders hunched, eyes averted, the body language of people walking on eggshells. Andre pushed through the glass doors, immediately feeling the temperature change, not just the air conditioning, but the social climate. His torn jacket and unkempt appearance triggered instant reactions. A mother with 2 children instinctively pulled them closer. A businessman in an expensive suit checked his phone and moved to a different table. The hostess's smile flickered and died. Can I help you? The question came from a teenage employee behind the register, polite but wary. Just looking at the menu, Andre mumbled, staying in character. From his corner position, Andre had a perfect view of the kitchen operations. Brad moved between stations like a predator marking territory, his presence causing visible stress in his staff. Johnson! Brad's voice cracked like a whip. Those tomatoes better be perfect. I caught one bad slice going out, you're washing dishes for a week. Aisha Johnson, Andre recognized her from the TikTok video, nodded quickly and returned to her prep work. Her hands moved with practiced efficiency, but Andre noticed how she kept glancing nervously at Brad. The first test came at 11:45. An elderly black man in work clothes entered, moving slowly with the aid of a cane. Andre watched Brad's demeanor shift immediately, the practiced smile replaced by barely concealed irritation. What can I get you? Brad's tone was flat, professional but cold. Could I get ham and cheese, please? On wheat if you have it. We're out of wheat. Brad didn't even check. White bread only. Andre knew they had wheat bread. He'd seen it stocked moments earlier. The lie was casual, automatic. The elderly man accepted white bread without complaint. Brad assembled the sandwich with obvious reluctance, using meat from the far edge of the tray, older cuts, less fresh. When the man requested mustard, Brad applied it sparingly, as if each squeeze cost him personally. $8.50. The man paid the exact change and took his sandwich to a corner table. Andre watched him eat slowly, savoring each bite despite the inferior ingredients. This was probably his main meal of the day. Meanwhile, Brad returned to berating his staff. Standards, people. We maintain standards here. Some customers appreciate quality, others... He gestured dismissively toward the elderly man. Well, they get what they pay for. Several employees exchanged uncomfortable glances. Aisha's jaw tightened, but she kept working. At noon, the lunch rush began in earnest. Andre positioned himself near the counter, close enough to observe Brad's system in action. The discrimination wasn't random. It was methodical, calculated. A young professional woman in designer clothes received immediate service, extra portions, and genuine smiles. Brad personally handled her order, ensuring perfection. Have a wonderful day, Miss Patterson. See you tomorrow. 5 minutes later, a Hispanic construction worker approached. Same order, turkey club, different treatment entirely. Brad's smile vanished. His movements became mechanical, disinterested. The turkey was older, the vegetables less fresh. When the worker asked for extra avocado, Brad pretended not to hear. $9.25. The worker paid and left quickly, sensing the hostility. Andre's phone buzzed, a text to his burner number. Getting worse. Check your 2 o'clock. He looked up to see Aisha discreetly pointing toward a corner table where a teenage girl sat alone, obviously homeless. Her clothes were clean but worn, her backpack everything she owned. Brad had noticed her too. Hey, his voice carried across the restaurant. Are you buying something or just taking up space? The girl looked up, startled. I was just, this isn't a shelter. Buy something or leave. The cruelty was unnecessary, public, designed to humiliate. Other customers watched uncomfortably but said nothing. The girl gathered her backpack and hurried toward the door. Andre's hands clenched into fists. Every instinct screamed to intervene, but blowing his cover now would only stop this one incident. He needed to see the full scope of Brad's system. At 12:15, Andre witnessed the smoking gun. A well-dressed businessman had left half his sandwich uneaten. Too much food, rushing back to work. Brad cleared the table personally, but instead of discarding the leftovers, he carried them to the prep station. Andre watched in horror as Brad carefully disassembled the sandwich, removing the fresh ingredients and setting them aside. Then he reached beneath the counter to what looked like a pest control container. Brad palmed something small and dark, glancing around to ensure he was not observed. With practiced efficiency, he placed the object among the recovered ingredients and began assembling a new sandwich. Special order, Brad muttered to himself, wrapping the contaminated food in Fresh Slice's signature paper. Andre's blood ran cold. This wasn't just poor service or verbal abuse. This was deliberate food tampering, potentially criminal assault. The sandwich sat on the warming rack, waiting for the right victim. At 12:30, Brad's opportunity arrived. Andre recognized the pattern immediately, how Brad's eyes lit up when certain customers entered. This time it was a young black student, textbooks under his arm, clearly counting coins to afford lunch. "What's the cheapest thing you have?" the student asked. Brad's smile turned predatory. "Lucky for you, we have a special day today. Pre-made sandwich, just $6. He reached for the contaminated sandwich on the warming rack. Andre's military training kicked in, time slowed. He could see the trajectory, the poisoned food heading toward an innocent victim, Brad's satisfaction at delivering another lesson about social hierarchy. The student reached for his wallet, trusting Fresh Slice to provide safe food. Andre made his decision. "Excuse me?" he called out, his voice still maintaining the homeless character. "I'd like to order that sandwich instead." Brad paused, confused. This wasn't how his system worked. The contaminated food was specifically intended for the student. "You sure?" Brad's irritation was barely concealed. "It's $6. I'm sure." Andre approached the counter, every step calculated. Brad's frustration was evident, but he couldn't refuse without creating a scene. Reluctantly, he handed over the contaminated sandwich. The student ordered something else, fresh ingredients, safe food. He left the restaurant healthy and unaware of how close he'd come to being poisoned. Andre carried his sandwich toward the corner table, his heart pounding. In his hands was evidence of systematic food tampering, criminal behavior disguised as customer service. But more than that, he now understood the true scope of Brad's cruelty. This wasn't just discrimination. It was an assault, carried out with calculated precision against the most vulnerable customers. As Andre sat down and unwrapped the sandwich, he felt the weight of every decision that had led to this moment. Building Fresh Slice from nothing, creating jobs for thousands, trusting managers to uphold his values. That trust had been betrayed in the worst possible way. Andre lifted the sandwich, aware that Brad was watching, expecting to see another victim suffer. Instead, Brad was about to learn what happened when you poisoned the wrong customer. The homeless man at table 7 was about to become the most expensive mistake of Brad Williams' life. Andre carefully peeled back the sandwich wrapper, his movements deliberate and controlled. Around him, the lunch rush continued its chaotic rhythm, conversations, clattering dishes, the hiss of the grill. But his focus was laser-sharp on what lay beneath the bread. The cockroach was there, exactly as he'd witnessed Brad place it. Still alive, moving sluggishly against the wilted lettuce. Its dark shell caught the fluorescent light as it struggled among the contaminated ingredients. Andre's phone was already recording, positioned discreetly on the table. Every detail captured in high definition, the insect's movement, the deliberate placement among what should have been safe food, the Fresh Slice logo prominently displayed on the wrapper. Smoking gun evidence. But Andre needed more than just the contaminated sandwich. He needed to establish the pattern, the systematic nature of Brad's crimes. "Excuse me," Andre called out, his voice still carrying the uncertain tone of his homeless character. "There's something wrong with my sandwich." Brad looked up from the register, his expression shifting from irritation to anticipation. This was the moment he lived for, watching his victims discover their special treatment. "What's wrong with it?" Brad's voice carried mock concern, loud enough for other customers to hear his apparent customer service. Andre held up the sandwich, the cockroach clearly visible among the ingredients. "There's a bug in my food." Gasps rippled through the nearby tables. Several customers pushed back from their meals, faces contorting in disgust. But Andre watched Brad's reaction carefully. No surprise, no shock, just a flicker of satisfaction before the manager's mask of concern slipped into place. "Oh my goodness," Brad said, approaching the table with theatrical dismay. "I am so sorry about that. Sometimes these things happen with fresh ingredients. Let me get you a replacement right away." "Sometimes these things happen?" Andre's voice grew stronger, more questioning. "How often does this happen?" Brad's practiced response rolled out smoothly. "Very rarely, sir. We maintain the highest standards of food safety. This is clearly an isolated incident." Andre's phone continued recording as Aisha appeared beside their table, her own device discreetly capturing audio. She'd positioned herself perfectly to document Brad's lies. "An isolated incident," Andre repeated slowly. "So this sandwich wasn't specifically prepared for me?" A flash of uncertainty crossed Brad's features. "Of course not." "Why would you think that?" "Because I watched you make it." Andre's voice was gaining authority with each word. "I watched you take ingredients from another customer's leftover sandwich. I watched you reach under the counter for something. And I watched you deliberately place that cockroach in this food." The color drained from Brad's face. Around them, conversations had stopped. Other customers were listening intently, some pulling out their own phones. That's ridiculous," Brad stammered. "You're mistaken. The lighting in here, maybe you didn't see clearly." "I saw perfectly." Andre stood slowly, his posture beginning to straighten. "Just like I saw you lie to the elderly gentleman about being out of wheat bread, just like I watched you give spoiled meat to the Hispanic worker while serving fresh cuts to the woman in designer clothes." Brad's breathing became shallow. His eyes darted toward the exit, calculating escape routes. "You don't know what you're talking about," Brad said, but his voice lacked conviction. "You're just some homeless guy looking for a free meal trying to cause trouble." Andre smiled, the first genuine expression he'd shown since entering the restaurant. "Some homeless guy?" Andre's voice was transforming, losing the uncertain rasp, gaining the clear authority of someone accustomed to command. "Is that what you think?" He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a business card, pristine white with embossed lettering. Fresh Slice's corporate logo prominently displayed. Brad's eyes focused on the card, reading the text that would destroy his world. Andre Davis, Chief Executive Officer, Fresh Slice Enterprises. The card fluttered to the table between them like a death sentence. "My name is Andre Davis," Andre said, his voice now carrying the full weight of his position. "I built this company from nothing. I own every Fresh Slice location in America. And I just watched you attempt to poison me because you thought I was beneath your standards." Brad's knees buckled slightly. His mouth opened and closed soundlessly as the magnitude of his mistake crashed over him. Around them, the restaurant had gone completely silent. Every customer, every employee was watching the impossible scene unfold, a homeless man revealing himself as the CEO, a manager's systematic cruelty exposed in real time. Aisha stepped forward, her phone extended toward Brad. "I have everything recorded," she announced clearly. "This is the 4th time this week I've documented him contaminating food for customers he deemed unworthy. Audio, video, timestamps, everything." Andre nodded at her respectfully, then turned back to Brad. "You have exactly 30 seconds to explain yourself before I call the police." Brad's face cycled through disbelief, terror, and desperate calculation in the span of seconds. You can't be," his voice cracked. "This is some kind of setup, some kind of scam." Andre pulled out his phone, not the burner device, but his actual iPhone with Fresh Slice's executive app clearly visible on the screen. He opened the corporate directory, scrolling to his own profile photo. Clean-shaven, business suit, the confident smile of a successful CEO, he held it next to his face. Even through the artificial aging and homeless disguise, the bone structure was unmistakable. The same eyes, the same jawline. Still think I'm scamming? Andre's voice carried deadly calm. Around them, customers were recording everything. Phones pointed from every angle, capturing the moment a disguised CEO confronted his abusive manager. The footage was already being uploaded. Fresh slice scandal trending within minutes. Brad's survival instincts kicked in. Look, if there was a misunderstanding— Misunderstanding? Andre's voice rose, cutting through Brad's excuse. You deliberately contaminated food. You systematically discriminated against customers based on their appearance. You created a hostile work environment that violated every principle this company was founded on. He gestured toward Aisha, who stepped forward with her phone extended. Show him, Andre commanded. Aisha's screen displayed a folder labeled Evidence. Dozens of video files, audio recordings, timestamps dating back months. Every incident is documented, every discriminatory act, every time you poisoned someone's food because you thought they didn't deserve basic human dignity. Brad's eyes went wide as he saw the scope of evidence against him. His carefully constructed system, his perfect crimes, all captured in devastating detail. I want to see the recordings, Andre said. Play them. Aisha selected a file from 2 weeks prior. Brad's voice emerged clearly from the phone's speaker. Some people don't deserve our best service. Why waste good ingredients on garbage customers? They won't know the difference anyway. Gasps echoed through the restaurant. Several customers covered their mouths in horror. Another recording played. That homeless woman comes in here again, she gets special treatment. Make sure she remembers her place. Andre's jaw clenched as he listened to his own manager describing deliberate food contamination as special treatment. How many people have you poisoned? Andre's question cut through the silence like a blade. Brad's defenses crumbled completely. It wasn't poison, just lessons. Teaching people about respect, about knowing their place in— Their place? Andre stepped closer, his presence now commanding the entire restaurant. Their places as valued customers deserving safe food and basic dignity. Your place was as their trusted servant, ensuring their well-being. He turned to address the entire restaurant, his voice carrying to every corner. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for what you've witnessed today. This individual does not represent Fresh Slice's values. He never did. Andre faced Brad again. You're fired, effective immediately. Security is already on their way to escort you out. You'll never work in food service again. I'll personally ensure that. And I'm pressing criminal charges for food tampering, assault, and reckless endangerment. You can't destroy my career over this. Brad's voice rose to a desperate shout. I made this location profitable. My numbers were the best in the district. Your numbers came from systematic abuse, Andre replied coldly. Profit built on cruelty isn't success. It's theft from every customer you cheated and every employee you terrorized. Brad looked around desperately, seeking support from his staff. Instead, he found 15 faces watching him with undisguised relief. The fear was gone, replaced by something he'd never seen in their eyes before. Hope. This is insane, Brad muttered, pulling out his phone. I'm calling corporate. I'm calling my lawyer. You can't just— Go ahead, Andre said calmly. Call corporate. Ask for Andre Davis's office. See who answers. Brad's phone trembled in his hands as reality finally penetrated. There was no appeal, no higher authority, no escape from the consequences of his actions. The restaurant's front door chimed as 3 security officers entered, followed by a woman in a business suit carrying legal documents. Mr. Davis, the woman said respectfully, legal is prepared to proceed with criminal charges. We also have termination paperwork and a restraining order preventing him from returning to any Fresh Slice property. Andre nodded. Officer, this man deliberately contaminated food with insects, targeting customers based on their appearance. We have video evidence and multiple witnesses. One of the security officers approached Brad. Sir, you need to come with us. Brad's legs gave out. He slumped against the counter, the full weight of his situation crushing down. His career, his reputation, his freedom, all destroyed by underestimating one customer. This isn't fair, he whispered. You tricked me. Andre's expression remained stern, but his voice carried a note of sadness. I gave you every opportunity to do the right thing. You chose cruelty over kindness, discrimination over dignity. The only trick here was your own conscience. As security led Brad toward the exit, he turned back one final time. I'll sue you for this. Entrapment, false identity, something. Andre's response was quiet but final. Good luck finding a lawyer who'll take that case. The door closed behind Brad Williams, ending his reign of terror over Fresh Slice's flagship location. The restaurant remained silent for several heartbeats after Brad's departure. 15 employees stood behind the counter, their faces reflecting years of suppressed relief, finally finding expression. Andre turned to face them, his homeless disguise now completely abandoned. He stood at full height, shoulders back, voice clear, every inch the CEO who'd built an empire from a single food truck. My name is Andre Davis. I founded this company 12 years ago with a simple promise. Everyone deserves fresh, quality food served with dignity and respect. Today, I discovered how completely that promise was broken. He looked each employee in the eye as he spoke. What you witnessed here, the discrimination, the food tampering, the systematic abuse, that ends today. Not just here, but company-wide. Aisha stepped forward, her phone still recording. Mr. Davis, there are other managers doing similar things. Brad wasn't alone. Andre nodded grimly. I suspected as much. That's why we're implementing immediate changes across all 847 locations. He pulled out his phone and dialed. Sarah, it's Andre. I need you to conference with all district managers immediately. Emergency protocol. While waiting for the call, Andre addressed his staff directly. First, I need to know who else has witnessed or experienced discrimination or abuse at this location. Hands rose slowly. Tentatively at first, then more confidently as employees realized they were finally safe to speak. Marcus here, a young prep cook said. Brad made me work double shifts when my mom was in the hospital. Said if I complained, he'd fire me for unreliability. Sarah, a cashier added. He told me to charge extra handling fees to customers who looked homeless, said it would discourage them from coming back. Jessica, another voice. He made us throw away perfectly good food instead of donating it. Said giving handouts would attract the wrong crowd. Andre's phone buzzed. All district managers are on the line, sir. He put the call on the speaker. Gentlemen, ladies, what you're about to hear will shock you. We have documented evidence of systematic discrimination and food tampering at our flagship location. I'm implementing immediate policy changes effective in the next hour. Voices overlapped through the speaker. Surprise, concern, defensive explanations. Quiet, Andre commanded. Listen carefully. Every location will implement the following protocols immediately. First, anonymous reporting system goes live today. Any employee can report discrimination or abuse directly to a corporation without fear of retaliation. Second, mystery shoppers will test every location monthly, people of all backgrounds, economic levels, and appearances. Service quality must be identical regardless of customer profile. Third, new hiring practices. No manager makes unilateral hiring or firing decisions. All personnel actions require district approval and documentation. Fourth, mandatory dignity training for all staff. If you can't treat every customer with respect, you don't work for Fresh Slice. Andre paused, letting the weight settle. Any manager caught discriminating or contaminating food will face criminal charges and lifetime industry bans. Questions? The silence from the phone spoke volumes. Good. District managers have 48 hours to audit their locations and report compliance. Anyone who can't meet these standards should resign now. Andre ended the call and turned back to his staff. Now for the changes here. Aisha Johnson, your courage in documenting these abuses and posting that TikTok video saved this company from becoming something I never intended. You're promoted to store manager effective immediately. Aisha's eyes widened. Sir, I'm only 19. I don't have management experience. You have something more valuable, integrity and moral courage. The rest we can teach. Andre addressed the other employees. Aisha will work with our training team to rebuild this location's culture. Anyone who wants to be part of that rebuilding is welcome. Anyone who prefers Brad's methods can find work elsewhere. He pulled out his corporate credit card. First order of business, we're closing for the rest of today for deep cleaning and policy training. Everyone gets full pay. Aisha, I want you to personally inspect every piece of equipment, every food storage area, every corner where contamination might hide. Yes, sir. Second, We're implementing the Fresh Slice Dignity Pledge. Every customer, regardless of appearance, background, or economic status, receives identical service. No exceptions, no excuses, no second-class treatment. Andre walked to the prep station where Brad had assembled his contaminated sandwiches. This equipment gets replaced. These storage areas get sanitized. We start fresh, literally and figuratively. He turned to Marcus, the prep cook. You mentioned working doubles when your mother was hospitalized. How is she now? Better, sir. Thank you for asking. Good. Going forward, family emergencies take priority. We're a company that supports our people, not exploits them. Andre made a note on his phone. HR will review all recent scheduling decisions and overtime policies. A customer approached tentatively, an elderly woman who'd witnessed the entire confrontation. Excuse me, she said to Andre. I've been coming here for months. I had no idea. I'm so sorry I didn't speak up when I saw how some people were treated. Andre's expression softened. Ma'am, you're not responsible for one man's cruelty, but going forward, if you see anything that doesn't feel right, please let us know. Every voice matters. The woman nodded and returned to her table, where she began typing rapidly on her phone, probably sharing the story with friends and family. Andre watched more customers approach Aisha, congratulating her promotion, expressing relief that changes were coming. The toxic atmosphere that had poisoned this location for months was already lifting. Aisha, Andre said, I want weekly reports directly to my office, not through district management, directly to me. If problems arise, if anyone tries to revert to old patterns, you have my personal guarantee of support. Thank you, Mr. Davis. I won't let you down. You already proved that. Andre smiled genuinely for the first time all day. You risked everything to do what was right. That's exactly the kind of leader Fresh Slice needs. 3 weeks later, Andre returned to the flagship location unannounced. The transformation was immediately visible. Customers of all backgrounds filled the dining area, construction workers sharing tables with business executives, college students chatting with elderly regulars. The oppressive tension had vanished completely. Mr. Davis! Aisha spotted him from behind the counter, her face lighting up. She wore a manager's polo shirt with obvious pride. How are things going? Andre asked. See for yourself. Aisha gestured toward the dining area. Mrs. Patterson was one of Brad's preferred customers. Yesterday, she personally thanked Marcus for taking time to ask about her dietary restrictions. Andre watched the elderly black man with the cane, the same customer he'd seen Brad discriminate against. Today, he sat at a central table, engaged in conversation with a young Hispanic family. Mr. Johnson comes in 3 times a week now, Aisha explained. Turns out he's a retired teacher. Yesterday, he helped Jessica's daughter with her homework while Jessica worked. The connection was beautiful. Under Brad's system, customers had been segregated by an unspoken hierarchy. Now they were simply people sharing space. The staff changes? Andre asked. Everyone stayed except 2 cashiers who felt uncomfortable with the new policies. We hired 3 replacements, all committed to dignity-first service. She led Andre toward the prep area where Marcus was training Carmen, a new employee. Every ingredient gets the same care, Marcus explained. Whether it's for a CEO or someone counting coins, quality doesn't change based on who's ordering. Andre noticed a new plaque at the prep station. Every meal matters, every customer matters, every moment of dignity matters. Whose idea? He asked. The whole team voted on it. Near the register, Andre spotted a suggestion box labeled Make Fresh Slice Better. Aisha pulled out a thick folder of handwritten notes. Customers want senior discounts. Staff suggested donating day-old bread to food banks. Someone proposed monthly community lunches for charity. Each suggestion reflected collaborative spirit, contribution instead of extraction. We're implementing all of them, Aisha continued. Senior discounts start next week. Andre watched Jessica serving an elderly customer with genuine warmth, taking extra time explaining menu options. Team meeting, Aisha called. The staff gathered quickly, faces eager rather than anxious. Under Brad, they'd shown hunched shoulders and averted eyes. Now they stood tall, made eye contact, and smiled naturally. Who wants to share what's changed? Aisha asked. I look forward to work now, Marcus said. I'm not afraid of mistakes because you helped me fix them instead of punishing me. Customers remember my name, Jessica added. They ask about my family. Some bring pictures of grandkids. It feels like a real community. Carmen raised her hand. My last job treated us like machines. Here, my ideas matter. Andre felt his original vision finally realized. Work with dignity, community around food, preparation with love rather than resentment. One more thing, Aisha said, producing her phone. We made something for you. She played a video the staff had created, customers and employees sharing testimonials about the changes, faces of all backgrounds expressing gratitude for feeling welcomed and valued. The final frame showed the team holding a handmade sign. Thank you for believing in dignity. Andre's eyes moistened. Thank you for making it real. A customer approached. The homeless teenage girl Brad had humiliated weeks earlier. Now she wore a fresh slice apron. Mr. Davis, I'm Riley. Aisha hired me last week. I just wanted to thank you. Andre looked at Aisha questioningly. Riley applied right after the story went viral. She's been living in her car, working part-time while finishing high school. We're flexible with her schedule. How's it working out? Andre asked Riley. Amazing. Everyone here treats me like family. I'm saving money for community college, and Marcus is helping me study for my GED. Andre watched the dining room again. Evening light cast warm shadows through windows. Customers lingered over meals, reluctant to leave the welcoming atmosphere. This was more than a business. It had become what he'd always intended, a place where everyone belonged. Aisha, Andre said, I want you to document this transformation. Create a training program we can implement company-wide. What you've built here, this is the real fresh slice. Yes, sir. We'll make sure this becomes the standard, not the exception. Andre smiled, knowing his grandmother's original promise was finally being kept. Fresh, quality food served with dignity to everyone who walked through the door. 6 months later, the Fresh Slice transformation was complete. Andre stood in his corner office watching news coverage of the company's Employer of the Year recognition. The viral video had sparked industry-wide conversations about workplace dignity. His phone buzzed with a text from Aisha. District meeting went amazing. All 15 managers committed to dignity standards. 0 violations this quarter. The anonymous reporting system had fielded over 200 tips in the first month, most resulting in training rather than terminations. The culture was healing itself. His assistant entered with applications. Sir, we have 500 applications for Aisha's management training program, all citing the flagship story as inspiration. Andre flipped through them. Teachers, social workers, military veterans drawn to values-based leadership. The story had attracted people who understood that profit and principles could coexist. Another text from Aisha. Riley got her GED, starts community college next month. Marcus was promoted to assistant manager. The human stories mattered most. Brad's firing was necessary justice, but creating opportunities for Riley and Marcus, that was a lasting change. Andre's phone rang, a reporter from Food Service Weekly. Mr. Davis, what's your message to other business leaders? Andre looked out at the bustling street below, thousands of people deserving dignity regardless of appearance. Leadership isn't about power over people. It's about power with people. When you honor everyone's humanity, you build better communities. Final thoughts? Change starts with one person willing to speak up. Aisha Johnson risked everything to expose injustice. That courage saved our company. After hanging up, Andre opened TikTok. Aisha's original video now had 12 million views, spawning thousands of response videos from workers sharing stories of workplace courage. The comment section had become a movement. #SpeakUpForDignity. Andre typed his own comment. Real change happens when we stop looking away. Every voice matters, including yours. Tag someone who stands up for others when no one's watching. He posted it and watched responses flow in. Stories of everyday heroes choosing courage over comfort. His grandmother's dream lived on, one sandwich at a time.